And that blows my mind because even if you look at 10 years ago, there were reports showing that by the year 2020, customer experience is going to be like the number one most important initiative that a company should have. And yet, look at this.
Welcome to Experience Points, presented by our friends at Avtex who transform customer experience through CX design and orchestration. On Experience Points, contestants earn points by answering customer experience questions and share their insights on how to make your interactions remarkable. Those points turn into dollars for the charity of their choosing. I'm Joey Coleman.
And I'm Dan Gingiss, and we'd love to introduce you to today's contestant.
A good friend of the show, of both mine and Joey's, a guy who's been a mentor, a leader, and somebody once called him the godfather of customer experience. He is a New York Times and Wall Street Journal best-selling author of 7 books, a member of the National Speakers Association Hall of Fame, and he is a hair-banging electric guitar player who's done it so many times, there isn't any hair left. My buddy, Shep Hyken. How are you, man?
Okay, I like that.
How does a customer experience guy end up as a rock band playing electric guitar pro like you are?
Wow. Well, I think, first of all, you're very flattering with the words you're using to describe the way I play. I've had great fun playing with some amazing, pretty famous musicians. Started playing when I was 12 years old and took lessons for a little while. And then just kind of had fun with it. And then one day I found myself at a party and I said, that guitar player looks sick. I wish I could help him out. And somebody said, you can, go up there and play. And I played with them, and the next thing you know, I'm playing with a band. And it was a big band. The guitar player was from Steve Miller's band. The bass player and the drummer were from Michael Jackson's band. The saxophone player was with Pink Floyd. So it's like, how did I end up here? The next thing you know, it's like, there's my career. Well, it's not really much of a career, but it's been fun.
So, Shep, you're going to be playing for a special charity today. Can you tell us what charity that is and why you decided to play for them?
Sure, it's the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research. My mom has Parkinson's, and we're just doing everything we can to deal with it. And I thought this would be a fun way to give a little money to charity. And I thank Avtex for making that happen. And you guys too. This is amazing what you're doing.
Thanks, Shep. We love it. And we love that you're playing for your mom in this case. We're hoping that you do a great job here in our next game that we're going to play, which is called Think Fast.
In Think Fast, you will have 1 minute to answer 5 experience questions. For each question, you must quickly choose between 2 possible answers. Correct answers given before time runs out are worth 100 points. 5 correct answers will earn you 500 bonus points for a possible score of 1,000 points.
There's big money on the line, Shep. Are you ready to get started?
Let's get this party started.
All right. So for Think Fast today, we are going to be giving you some questions from a recent report from our friends at Get Feedback by SurveyMonkey. This is the State of B2B Customer Experience Report. Now, we know that you work with lots of B2B companies and that you are, after all, the godfather of customer experience. So these should be a piece of cake for you. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, Joey, give us 60 seconds on the clock and let's make some money. What percentage of B2B companies think their company is delivering an excellent customer experience? 48% or 68%?
68%.
What percentage didn't have even one part-time person taking ownership of CX initiatives? 24% or 42%?
42%.
What do B2B companies report as the number one challenge to customer experience? Is it organization silos or executive sponsorship?
I'm going with executive sponsorship.
90% of B2B said there is good value in customer feedback. What percent understand how their customers perceive their experiences? 58% or 70%?
58%.
And finally, what percentage say improving customer experience at their company is important or very important? Is it 75% or 87%?
87. The time is running out. 87.
All right. Fantastic. Shep, with barely a second to spare. There wasn't even a second. It was like we were at the Olympics. It was ticking over. Wow. That was fast.
I was worried whether Dan was going to finish the question before the clock ran out.
I told you I'd finish, man. I told you I'd finish.
We were rooting for you, buddy. Oh, you did a great job getting through all 5 of those. Now, let's see how you did.
All right, on the first question, which was what percentage of B2B companies think their company is delivering an excellent customer experience, you said 68%. The answer is 48%.
Well, that's a shame because that report's wrong. No, I'm just kidding. You know, there's this huge disconnect between what companies think they're doing and what the customers are actually perceiving, to the point where it's an overwhelming majority of leadership thinks their companies are doing far better than they actually are.
Absolutely.
That's where I came up with that one.
The second question is what percentage didn't have even one part-time person taking ownership of CX initiatives?
Oh, you know what? I bet I blew this one.
You said 42%. And the answer is 42%. Good job, Shep.
That word part-time, as I looked at it, I go, was it not even one part-time person? Yeah. So there you go, 42. And that blows my mind because even if you look at 10 years ago, there were reports showing that by the year 2020, customer experience is going to be like the number one most important initiative that a company should have. And yet, look at this.
I could say from reading this report, what this actually means is it is not a single person, full-time or part-time, that is working on it, that is dedicated to it. Not a single person.
Yeah, that part-time, if I'd have read it again, I would have probably got it wrong because that part-time, they got to have somebody at least part-time caring about it.
42% say they don't. So the next question, what do B2B companies report as the number one challenge to customer experience? You said executive sponsorship. The answer is organization silos, which
is symptomatic of a lack of executive sponsorship.
Well, sir, unfortunately, it's still the wrong answer. But hey, good try. Question number 4, 90% of B2Bs said there is good value in customer feedback. What percentage understand how their customers perceive their experience? You said 58%. The answer is 58%. All right. Very good, sir.
You know what? I'm batting 500 right now. Is that right?
All right. Well, we got one more. Let's see if we can.
I just want to say that if I were a baseball player, I'd have one freaking huge contract right now.
That's true. That's true. All right. The final question was what percentage say improving customer experience at their company is important or very important? You said 87%. And the answer is 87%. Well done, sir.
Shep, fantastic.
Well, thank you very much.
Love it, love it. Well, Shep, you know, these questions all speak to, as you said, the disconnect between what companies say is important to them and what they actually do. Why is it, you think, that so many companies claim that customer experience is a high priority, but it really hasn't been elevated to that business level objective? They haven't put the resources, the people, the effort behind it as much as they've put the lip service behind it.
So there's actually so many different ways you can go with this answer, but I'll say a couple of things. Number one, I do believe executive sponsorship or leadership sponsorship, as it was called, is an issue within many companies. They talk about it, and yet they don't necessarily act as the role model. They don't create the service vision. It becomes like a theme at a particular time when they receive a complaint, and then that becomes the next most important thing for the next 3 months till they move on to something else. The best of the best companies decide this is super important to them. They make it part of their culture. It's built into how they hire people. And I think that's where, I don't know if I'm getting away from your original question, but if that's what they want to do to take the business to the next level, they need to be thinking it's not a department, it's a culture. It's philosophical. Everybody's involved. And we need to show people, everybody, the person in the warehouse, somebody behind the scenes that never sees a customer, we need to show them just how important their role is to the other people they work with and the outside customer.
You know, Shep, one of the things that was interesting to me about this study, and what might have caused you to get that first question wrong, was that this was only B2B companies. And I don't know about you, I know all three of us have spoken on many stages about customer service and customer experience. One of the questions that I get the most often when I walk off a stage is, does this apply to B2B? And my answer, which might be slightly more sarcastic than yours, is it depends. Do you market to human beings? And I sort of pause there, and they're like, yes. I'm like, well, then it applies, because human beings are consumers in their real life. And as we all know, you're being compared to every experience that they've had. But I'm wondering, why is that still a question? And why do B2B companies somehow either feel that they're exempt or don't have the same kind of infrastructure, technology, operations that B2Cs have to make CX a priority?
Well, B2C is primarily a retail type of feeling to it, or a frontline feeling to it, a consumer feeling to it. However, B2B is different. And as you get to B2B, I don't think we're looking at, a software company that sells to consumers. I'll even say Microsoft, even though they're B2B, they're very frontline retail focused with certain products they have. However, then you get into manufacturers. And I have a client that said they're in the kind of automation robotics industry. They sell huge equipment to factories. If they blow it, it's not just a little mistake. And a competitor comes in, it could be 15 years before that piece of machinery gets replaced. And they refer to that as a generational mistake. It takes a full generation before you have a chance to go in there and get that business back if you lose it. So I believe that customer service and experience is far more important at those levels. If I walk into a mall there's a store that sells the jeans that I'm looking for, I may not even notice the name of the store if I'm just going in to get an item. Now, I'm really not that kind of person. I have my person that I like to buy from in a particular store. They know what I want. But a lot of people think this way. And if I'm treated poorly, I just go on to the next store or the next store or the next store in the mall. There's so many to choose from. By the way, when I come back to the mall, I may or may not remember that experience. I might try them again. By the way, 2 or 3 times of a bad experience and I'm not going back, most likely. A lot of customers say it only takes one. But in that B2B world, oh my gosh, if you blow it, it could be big. It could be, it's not like, somebody else will buy another pair of jeans. No, when's the next person that's going to buy that, $2 million piece of equipment, or the next opportunity we have with that company? It could be big.
Shep, it's so true. And I was really taken aback by your comment of a generational mistake. That really, I think, cuts right to the chase on how significant the impact of some of these things can be on a business. We've talked kind of strategically about the importance of paying attention to customer experience in a B2B scenario, a business to business scenario. And we've talked about, obviously from the results of the game, that most companies aren't giving it the time and attention it deserves. You mentioned the power of a culture and an organization being committed to this type of endeavor. What would you say are maybe 1 or 2 tactical things that our listeners and viewers could do? We've got a lot of folks who are, kind of running customer experience at organizations, but we've also got a lot of people that are fans of the show that are more practitioners. Any thoughts on a tactical idea or 2 to infuse that customer experience into the B2B environment?
Sure. Well, I really got to go back to the top. And that's where leadership simply defines what a customer experience vision is for the company. And I want them to define it in a way that's memorable and easy for everybody to get into their brain. I know it's not B2B, but let's go back to my good friends at the Ritz-Carlton. You've known me for years. I've been talking about them for years. Their 9-word credo, we're ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. It's 9 words. When you come to work at the Ritz, basically, you know what that's about, you understand it, and then they train to it. Training, and it's not something you did, it's something you do ongoing. constantly reminding and reinforcing and sharing stories about when it's working and what it really stands for. And that's what's going to get that organization to start to get into alignment with a customer-focused culture and start heading in the right direction. By the way, this credo or mantra or whatever you want to call it, this vision, it's permanent. You can't say this is this year's theme. This is what you do once you and live with it, change it, modify it for the first 6 months till you finally get to where you know this is what I want to live with the rest of my life, or at least close to it, for years at least.
All right, cool. Well, Joey, let's recap how Shep scored playing Think Fast.
In this game, correct answers are worth 100 points, and Shep answered 3 questions correctly, which means he earned 300 points. Now, these points convert into dollars, which means Shep earned a $300 donation to the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research. Congratulations, Shep.
Well, thank you, and thank you to our good friends at Avtex for doing this. And you guys are great hosts. You know, if this whole thing doesn't work out for you, I think a game show host is in your future.
You're kind, Shep.
This concludes this episode of Experience Points. And check out more games with Shep and other celebrity contestants at experiencepointsgame.com. That site again is experiencepointsgame.com. We'll see you soon for more examples of remarkable customer experiences here at Experience Points, presented by Avtex.
You know, the comment that Dan Gingiss made where, you know, hey, does this apply to B2B? And, you know, his question was, well, you know, are your buyers human? You know, then of course it applies. Well, you know, Joseph Pine, who wrote the bellwether book, The Experience Economy, didn't write that book, you know, aimed solely at consumer. He aimed it across the board. And, you know, so one of the things he talks about in there is how we've moved from a passive consumption society to an active participation society. So I think you have customers that are more actively participating, you know, with their providers, with their suppliers, and providing that feedback, and it creates that awareness.